Yes,
Yeah.
Stephen Harper said yes. They both
Nice
released.
co-hosting.
Yes, thank you, Dan.
Well, also we just had the
Yeah,
conversation
we just had the
last
conversation.
night, so I
Yeah,
kind of still remember.
yeah. One of us had to remember the guy's name. I mean, I'm his fan, so. But anyway, so they're releasing all their stuff through Amazon, but they're like bypassing crowdfunding. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's the correct way to go, not the correct way to go? And I like the fact that David's here because he doesn't use crowdfunding. So but let's start with Todd.
I
So what do you think?
I think the irony of this question is that not unlike indie comics itself, and not even with the posts we have here right now and creators, everyone's different. Everyone's path is different. Like for example, you mentioned that David here doesn't use Kickstarter or crowdfunding. I do, and that's where like I have one right now for Tokyo Blade Detectives #9, and without Kickstarter, I wouldn't be able to make a lot of my books because even though I have stuff on Amazon, getting people to buy there isn't always a guarantee. I don't have the biggest name or the biggest presence, despite what my hair might tell you. So, it really depends on the person and what they're willing to do. For me, I'll always put my books on Amazon, but Kickstarter is my go-to to say like, hey, here's my newest book. You can help support it. And then people do, or people do Indiegogo, like Fusebox over there. I know a person who made like 13 grand off of a Fund My Comic, Von Coleman, and he's like, he dabbles in Kickstarter as well and Indiegogo, and I'm sure he has his books on Amazon eventually. But every path is different, so to say like, oh, which one is the future, kind of is limiting because nothing is set, and just when you think, oh, this is the way, then someone will just think big on crowdfunding, and then everyone's going to try and mimic that because that's the path of comics and other media. So,
All right, cool. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Todd's right. Everybody's journey is different, like Todd just said, and I think that for me personally, I was in a circumstance that maybe a lot of creators aren't in because I write and draw and color and letter and publish the book all on my own. I don't have anybody I need to pay to do any of the aspects of creating the book because I do it by myself. I've been lucky enough to be able to have a couple creators come in and we'll like trade services and do some things with each other and have some fun to be writing or drawing other people's books. But for the most part, I'm a one-man band. So I've always said that I'm not against crowdfunding. In fact, I'm getting to a point where maybe I'm like seriously considering doing it. The reason I don't do it or haven't done it yet is because I was just really concerned about getting the content out. I wanted to make sure I had enough books to be able to, kind of justify that as an indie creator, the story was going to be told. And I realized that as a creator who's trying to do like a 50-issue maxi series like I am with The Offspring, that can be a big pill to swallow for a lot of people who read indie comics. Like, he's never going to get to 50 issues. Why would I pick that up? But just publishing issue 29, it was kind of like that more than halfway mark, where I'm like, I'm going to do this, come hell or high water. And then having those one shots that I have, like Will Aliens Do My Homework or the Sock Hop Killer, I kind of use those as a bridge to be able to show people, hey, this is what I do. If you like this, come check out this, bigger thing that I'm doing here. And it can also be used as like a special things in Kickstarter to be able to entice people or to give them a little something extra. So I've got all the tools to be able to do a Kickstarter, and I hope to do it successfully, but I just haven't been able to do it yet. And I know that a lot of people aren't in that circumstance where they can write and draw and color and letter, which is just the way that it is. A lot of people have big teams that they work with. I'm just in a situation where I don't. So to be able to have to pay those talented people for all their talented work is just something I don't have to do. But I 100 respect the push and the drive to be able to have be a writer and collect a team to be able to get it all together and be able to, give them that respect of, you did this thing for me. Now I'm going to pay you money because you have bills to pay. So it's a 100% respect thing for people who do that, to be able to build a team. And I think Kickstarter is a great way to do that. More eyes on your book is never a bad thing. So to be able to have it on Amazon or have it on Global Comics or have it on, maybe you've got your own store on your website. There's no bad way to get eyes on your book.
All right, fair enough. And Dave, we don't pay them; we just pay them in exposure. So
exposure doesn't pay the bills.
I know. Ben, what are your thoughts?
I would say I agree with everybody here because I am in the position of mainly just being the writer, and I pay an art team, and exposure has been my biggest problem. I haven't been able to get it out in front of enough eyes, so I'm like, whatever works. If you want to do it through Amazon, if you want to do it through eBay, if you want to crowdfund, start your own website, and whatever is going to get more eyes on your project, I am all for.
All right, fair enough. Tom.
So we hear a lot about the glut of Kickstarter, the glut of books that exist on Kickstarter. Do you want to see glut?
Yeah, really.
Let's go to Amazon.com and look at the glut
Yeah.
of fucking Kickstarter or of Amazon. Holy God. Now, that being said, I will never understand the decision-making process of so many people in the industry where they will just pick one way to do something. I am going to do it this way, and this is the way I'm going to do it. Well, okay, but you could drop a listing on Amazon. You're done. It's over on Amazon now. You could drop a listing over here. You could drop a listing over here. You could have a website that has all your stuff in-house on your own website. Yeah, but that's just more of this, more of that, more of that. I'm like, what? There's people who don't want to do Kickstarter, don't want to do crowdfunding. I'm like, you understand this is just a sales channel, right? Like, this is what crowdfunding is. Now, it's evolved from what it was, 10, 15 years ago. But it is a sales channel now, and people are just adamantly against using it for whatever, ego aspect that they want to have with it. Like, they're just completely anti, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, what are you doing? What is the thought process of, like, I don't want someone else to see what I do? So, is Amazon the future? It's part of the future, but it's been part of the future and the present for decades. Well, I shouldn't say decades. It's not that old, but you know what I mean. The last 10 years or so, people have been dropping their comics on Amazon. That's not new stuff. I think the primary advantage to crowdfunding, if you do it correctly, is that you create sort of a moment for yourself. You create a time period. You create almost a game show for yourself. Whereas if you're just like, hey, it's on Amazon, get it when you want, it's just there forever, and people can get it when they want. Whereas if you're like on Kickstarter, it's here for 3 weeks. That's it. Come get it. 3 weeks. You kind of start to lean into that, that FOMO aspect of things. And I think that's one of the things that drives Kickstarters and crowdfunding in general in a lot of ways. Whereas if you're just like, it's on my website, it's on Amazon, it's over here, they can just go get it next week, next month, next year, because it's just there. And I think that's part of the problem that people kind of also miss about crowdfunding is they don't really understand that it is an event for you, that you're building for yourself. It's a launch party for you. And if you do it right, you're going to make people get interested. So again, for those guys, if their thought process is we're going to make a book and drop it on Amazon, great. Then what? What else is the plan, my friend? Now, you guys have names attached to it. You may have an audience that you can drive directly to it. We don't have all of that. We don't have names that we can be like, or go over here. So we'll see what the response is for them. Those guys are some of the older vets of the industry too. It's not like Todd McFarlane going like, we're putting something on Amazon and 1 million people go racing to it. So, we'll have to see what their results are, but I think the answer should always be, why not both? Why not more? Why not use it? Why not use everything that you have at your disposal? The internet's free, guys. It's free. And there's 1,000 places you can put your book. So, take advantage.
All right, cool. Daphne, what do you think?
Well, to answer Tom's side question as to why people like only seem to want to just focus on one thing, it's because they really only want to focus on
I,
one
I,
thing.
I
You
get
know,
it. I get it. Yeah.
there's been, I mean, but this has always been a thing, especially for a lot of creators, is that there's still this mentality, no matter how much collapses around us, there's still this mentality of I only want to do my book. I don't want to sell. I don't want to market. I don't want to do anything. I just want somebody else to do that. So that's kind of like where that comes from. Is like, so they wanted like, oh, I'm only gonna do Kickstarter because I don't want to bother with Amazon. I don't want to bother with putting my stuff on Global Comics. I don't want to bother. It's like I just want to do one thing because the least I do, the better, even though it's very counterintuitive. That being said, I'm all about whatever helps. Amazon is something that I am currently looking into, more because printing backstock is expensive, and we just in our last Tall Tales campaign we ran out of a lot of stuff, and I'm not looking forward to reprinting it.
Not even like a
But
trade paperback.
yeah, trade paperback.
Okay,
Yeah. But if I put it on Amazon,
They can do it for you.
I have the benefit of having going through Kindle Direct Publishing, where they print the book as it gets ordered. So technically, that gives me the option, if people want the books, to still buy it without having to wait for me to get the stock. And then it gives me time to build the funds to get the stocks later, to get my stock later. So I'm looking at it like that. Although what's funny is that like Tyler Carpenter had told me like 2 years ago, oh, just put your stuff on Amazon. And at the time I was like going, oh, I don't want to deal with that. And now it's like going, you know what? It's actually not that hard.
It's like anything. You got to learn how it works.
Right.
But then once you learn how it works,
yeah,
you're in.
Yeah.
Right.
The first time it took me a while to get one up, but now I can get a 24 page book up in 20 minutes.
Right, exactly. Once you're it's like, look, when we have to deal with PODs, with the print on demand, any of our printers, once you pretty much know the basics of putting together a book for your printer, setting it up for KDP is not that different. So if I can just do that, get that out of the way, and have stuff on Amazon and let them handle my back stock for a bit, that's what I'm going to actually, and I am in the process of doing that. So I'll tell you how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I bring it up I brought up the question for a few reasons, right? One of the things is that, like, for me, Amazon would be like the end stage of a process, right? So, for me, it's Kickstarter, then, hopefully into the direct market, and even Kickstarter is a process. It's like black and white comic, trade paperback, color comic, trade paperback, then it's onto the direct market, trade paperback, hardcover, and then eventually somewhere down the road it'll end up on Amazon, and that would be like, okay, we'll store it here. I think I was having a conversation with Daphne, and she was telling me how another creator was saying how a lot of these works are getting lost, right? Like I just posted up something where I posted up like 20 comics that I picked, or 24 comics that I picked up at the Koch warehouse, which is a warehouse out here in Brooklyn, old famous warehouse, a bunch of old stuff. I mean, just huge and smelly, and it has like vast amounts of just old comics, right? And I picked up a bunch of stuff out of the quarter bins. I picked up a comic book that's older than me for $1. I mean, it's from 1965. It's older than me. I was like, whoa, how is this even possible? And it was $1. But
Nice.
there were other books in there that's like, you know, that are really good books. I just saw Tom put a, what was that? The dinosaur book, the Rex.
Dinosaur Rex, yeah.
Right. Like there's Jan Chrenard and a Mayo, was it Henry Mayo? I don't even remember the artist. Yeah. Those are great books, but they're, if a publisher doesn't come out, like they just recently reprinted Dalgota, right? And I ordered it and I got it from Amazon. And it's in black and white. It was originally in color. They obviously had to remaster it and put it up because the only way to make money, because color is expensive to print, is to do it in black and white. But at least the stuff is still out there. It's still alive, right? You can still find it. But once it ends up in these dollar bins and quarter bins, it's nice to find them. But man, like that stuff is lost to a lot of people. And on Amazon, at least it gives it a little bit more, it gives it new life, you know? So that's what I'm saying is like, we need to try to keep the stuff alive because it's so much of this stuff, so much of this comics history that we're putting out there that's being forgotten or lost, you know, because guys pass away. You know, who's the gentleman? Daphne
right. So there's a book in the pile called Cutie Bunny, right? One of the old
Joshua
school furry
Quagmire.
comics. Yeah, Josh. Yeah, because I didn't know that he had passed away like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember selling my copies because, like an asshole, I go, "Oh, it'll come out in a trade. I'll pick it up in a trade." And of course, he never put it out in a trade. You know, so it's like, so I have neither my copies or a trade. You know, for those books, and I saw it in his pile. It's like, oh my god! It's like I felt it right here.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is like, you know, this stuff will get lost. I mean, Hellboy is always going to be around. You know, Usagi Yojimbo is always going to be around. But there's a lot of other stuff. Dynamo Joe is gone. You know, it's a great book, right? But gone. And the thing is a lot of people go like, what the hell's Dynamo Joe? What's he talking about? And I can't even tell you. And I couldn't say go to Amazon and go get a copy, right? That's the rough part. I could say go to some dollar bins, maybe you'll find it, you know.
Well, and then to piggyback on what we were talking about, and what Daphne was talking about is people want to do one thing, and I've talked about this on shows before too. Is when as creators like who we are, I've told people like everything is ROI, so you have to be willing to try stuff, but it doesn't mean you can't cut it off when the ROI isn't there. If you do Kickstarter and then you throw it up on Indiegogo and you realize you make $8, there's no ROI there. So you can say, okay, this isn't going to work. But if you throw it up on then Fund My Comic and you make another $1,000, okay, maybe that one works and the other one doesn't. Or if you take the time to put stuff up on Global Comics or any digital site and you don't make any sales, okay, maybe you don't have a digital
I made
audience.
17 cents on Global Comics.
I made more than I did. Every time I get one of those emails, it's like email. Oh, it's like 3 cents. Okay.
Yeah, that's me right now.
But everything is ROI. So it's I want everybody to try everything because and again, once you do it, it's there. So it's just a matter of then you decide like, well, do I want to keep doing that? Right. And if there's no ROI, then you can say no, put that energy towards something else, towards the things that are really working. You can be like, okay, well, I can spend less time there, more time here. But treat everything as an ROI sort of thing, return on investment, if you don't know what that means. Yeah. And in this case, the investment is primarily your time. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then you can cut it off.
Yeah. I'm most comfortable with Kickstarter. I've had 15 successful ones, all the books I've done, but I also can see that like my ceiling with my follower account for whatever reason is just like not growing. And then I have a friend I mentioned earlier, Vaughn. He's done great on Fund My Comic. I'm like, should I try? And he goes, absolutely, you should try it just to see, because there's a community that's there that's not always on Kickstarter, and there are people that are only on Indiegogo and not Kickstarter. So you try these other sites, and I'm going to try with my Tokyo series to see how it does on Fund My Comic. And then, like Tom said, if it does well, if I get a good rate of investment, I have other books that I can put on there. I'm like, hey guys, if you liked that one, then you'll like this book I made. And then if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I tried. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There you go. That's good. So, Todd.
Yeah.
What's your question?
You ever wondered why we're here? I'm just joking.
Yeah, because JD called me 5 hours ago and said, come on my show.
JD! It's JD's fault.
Yes.
Well, we're all creators, but as both David and myself are showing, we're not afraid to rep the big two every once in a while. And my question is, have you read a modern comic from either the big two or Image or Dark Horse recently that's either inspired you or resonated with you deeply? For me, for example, there was a recent X-Men comic, X-Men number 10, and it is by and large one of the best X-Men books I've ever read, and it's really all about Cyclops, which probably is why I love it. But it's this perfect character study of who Cyclops is as a character while he's just completely owning a government idiot. And I'm just like, God bless this man. How could anyone like him less than, or not like him as much as Wolverine and beyond? I've never understood the Wolverine love. And then on DC, the Absolute series that's going on with Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. Like, I love the new takes on the characters, and it's got me thinking, like, what would my Absolute story be? Hint, Harley Quinn. And I just, like, sometimes you read the big two and you're like, okay, these are nice, this is not bad, this one was better, this arc was better, this creator was better, and then you find the one where you're like, this is why I read Marvel, and this is why I read DC. Have any of you had one of those moments recently?
All right, cool. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last, because at this point where I am in upstate New York, I am in pick a direction. I am an hour away from any comic book shops. So, and I don't really read digital comics, which is bad because I sell a lot of digital comics. I get those big 17 cents from Global Comics, those big 17-cent checks. But I would say that the last thing I read was probably a collection of Justice League. And it was fine. I can't remember who the artist or the writer was. I think that over the last 3 or 4 years, I put so much effort into creating them that as an almost, I shouldn't give my age away, almost 50-year-old, I have enough of these knowledge about these characters in my brain that I can make up stories on my own at this point. So I have put so much focus into creating my own. I may be a little, I'm about to say ashamed, but that might be a little strong word, to say that I haven't really read much mainstream stuff in a while. So that's like I said, a couple trades here and there. Justice League, Super Sons. I read that, and it was super cute. But nothing that I've said, this is the thing that's going to make me buy 1 million comic books again.
Hey, to each their own, man. Also to Sarah, yes, that was me at EclipseCon. Thank you for remembering me.
All right. Ben, have you been reading any modern comics and been inspired by them? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Lord. I honestly, most of the comics I've read in the past few years have been indie. Things I backed on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And I look at all of them with a critical eye, my critical writer eye. Because, I feel like constructive criticism helps everybody improve. But I think, like, the most iconic comics that I can remember from, like, back in the day were the Walking Dead series and the Batman Hush story. The Batman Hush story for me was like the perfect graphic novel. I loved everything about it, and I loved the Walking Dead series mainly because of how grounded and gritty and realistic it was, which I think a lot of comics tend to go more into the fantastical, and I like a grounded series.
Cool. Tom, what have you been reading, sir?
Yeah, every time I pick up a Marvel or a DC book, it reminds me of why I don't read Marvel and DC anymore. There's just nothing there anymore. I mean, there's nothing there. There's nothing creative going on there anymore. And that's not to tear down the creators. It's partially because of the environment that we live in, where we understand that these creators no longer really want to create, because why would they? What do they get for it? They get their check for making the comic. But what happens when that becomes $1 billion, character in a movie or an animated series, or they're selling toys? Like, they don't get shit for that stuff. So, the creation, the push of the medium, I think really came to a standstill maybe 10 years ago or so. Incidentally, right when movies started making $1 billion. and creators got shit. And I just haven't seen anything that I go to a comic book store at least once a month, and I kind of go through all the new stuff. I'm like, okay, here's this, and I hear people talking about stuff, so I'm like, okay, show me this, show me that, show me this. And I look at things, and I'm just like, this there's nothing here for me. There's absolutely nothing here for me. I have grabbed a book from time to time that invariably I just read it, and I'm like, I'm not touching any more of that. So I remind myself why I'm not in those universes anymore, which is kind of a shame, because I grew up with all of that stuff. I mean, you can see on my shelves, I've got old DC and Marvel things that I used to love, but I don't know that there's anything that they could do right now to bring me back. It's a hard thing. Like if Marvel would be like, well, what would make you come back to comics? I'd be like, dude, I don't know what I could tell you. These characters are tired. You keep trying to revamp them for a modern audience, but modern audiences were keep being told, don't buy comics. So who are you making these things for? You're chasing theoretical audiences to try and bring these things in. You're doing these huge events. You're doing reboots every year to 2 years, so everything starts over again. This latest X-Men reboot, they just relaunched all the X-Men books, and they just canceled 3 of them before they even reached a year. Like, it tells me that the audience that they're trying to find doesn't care about what they're making. Or, excuse me, the audience that they have doesn't care what they're making, and the audience they're trying to find is not coming in. If they're canceling books after less than a year, something's really wrong. And I don't have an answer for them other than, the short-term answer, which everybody always talks about, put names on the books. Sure, of course, put Jim Lee on Wonder Woman. It'll sell, a ton of copies, but he's not going to write. He's not going to draw that for the rest of his life. You might get 6 months out of him, and then the book is back to floundering numbers, whatever it was before. So I think one of the things that comics just doesn't have is marketing to the general masses. We don't have anything that tells people that this stuff exists. And people will say, well, the movies advertise the comics. No, they don't. They advertise the movies, and they advertise merch like toys and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. There's very, very little tangible connection between watch the Avengers and read the Avengers comics. There's almost no threading backwards. If you want new audiences, that's how you have to get people into the stores, is you have to translate movies and TV to, hey guys, if you like this, go get the comics. Here's the stuff. So most of the stuff that I read is independents. It's creators that I know, people that I know are making books, and just kind of oddball stuff. Like I just bought Dark Ark that Cullen Bunn did. I bought the omnibus of that, which is basically, if you don't know, it's basically like Noah's Ark, right? Except it's the vampires and the monsters and stuff. They have their own ark as well. It's a really cool book.
That sounds like something you would write.
It's very cool. And those are the ideas that for me that I like. I like getting outside of the box. I don't mind Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Spider-Man. Give me that. But I just feel like we're not doing anything with those characters at this point. Everything's just a rehash. How many times can we do Venom? It's ultimate Venom carnageized, civil war stuff. It's just like, it's all the same. It's just re-Tetrised. Mm-hmm. And that's diminishing returns. And we're seeing that with the X-Men right now. So write better stories.
Can I jump on something Tom just said there? Is it okay if I jump on something that Tom just said there? I think he's 100% right. I think when I was a kid, I didn't even know there were just comic book shops until I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. My brother and I, and this is the early 80s, would walk to the 7-Eleven or the Circle K, and they would have stacks and stacks of comic books there. We'd go to Kroger, we'd go to Walmart, we'd go to whatever, Kmart back then. And they would have, packs of comics there. And I would, have a couple bucks in my pocket, and Mom, Dad, can I buy this? And they're like, it's your money, you buy it if you want to. And it was more readily accessible. So I really think one of the problems is taking comic books out of those places that just have, everyday people flowing through it on a daily basis. I think was one, and I'm not sure when it stopped but it was probably one of the biggest mistakes people had. I don't know if it was an ordering thing. Comic book companies didn't want to do it anymore. The gas stations didn't want to buy them anymore. Whatever the problem was, I think that to have that connection again with places that everyday people walk through every single day, I think that accessibility is super important. Because I'm a middle school teacher. I taught elementary school for 15 years. But I talked to these kids who walk in with Spider-Man and Thor and Captain America and have never read a comic book in their life, but they know the characters. So I'll bring them some of my old comic books. Here, read this one. Here, read this one. And they'll come back and say, "Do you have more of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have more of this. Come on in, and we'll read comic books together. We'll draw comic books together." So I think that the want is there. I think, unfortunately, though, and it's not the parents' fault, but they just don't know that these are avenues for kids to read and to, instead of just sitting in front of the television and watching the next movie, these are ways that kids can learn how to read, which hopefully will be a link into not just comic books, but novels and classic books and all those things, to be able to give them an opportunity. So I think that the accessibility of having those having it just in comic book shops is where I think the industry is going wrong with giving people access to these books and to these characters.
Fair enough.
Also, shout out to Sarah. Sorry you're having layoffs on your job. Sorry.
Yeah. Daphne, what do you think about the question?
I haven't had any interest in mainstream comics since the 90s. It's like I would rather go out of my way to go to another country to find comics than ever read an American mainstream comic. However, I'd be lying if I said that they never inspired me at all. I mean, I wouldn't be doing comics if it wasn't for finding issue 2 of Rocket Raccoon, the Mike Mignola Rocket Raccoon, in a supermarket. And that just sent me, that book alone, along with ElfQuest, it just sent me, and ironically, the Marvel version of ElfQuest too. That just
color version? Ew.
Right. That sent me on this trajectory. And it's like, and I remember fondly books like the Asgardian Wars and Longbow Hunters and Batman the Cult. Those were really they still stick in my mind, but I like I said, it's I think after the 90s, it's like I just have no interest in that segment of comics at all.
Is that because the 90s went too hard, Daphne, or you just lost interest in those kind of storytelling? That kind of storytelling?
Oh, that's
the
a good
90s
question.
went hard.
It's I don't know. Probably I lost interest, maybe. Yeah, it's I don't know. Because it's there's a lot of books look, you can't pay me to read Saga. You can't pay anything that everybody likes now. You can't pay me to read. I'm just not interested. So it's so I don't know what that's about, and I don't care enough to do something about it. So, but if it's in French, I'll definitely give it a shot.
This is interesting because you just said Longbow Hunters, and me and JD are the only ones that know what that is.
I know what that is.
Look, it's because it was my first introduction to Mike Grell, and I haven't forgotten his artwork since. And I am absolutely fascinated with Mike Grell because he is no matter how old he is, he draws exactly like he did in the 80s. You look at his artwork, it's that is so 80s. And you find out that he just drew it last week. So I love Mike Grell for that. So Longbow Hunters will always be here. Along with Cutie Bunny.
Now mind you, Egmeyer was the first guy I ever got a piece of art from. I met him at a little hotel like airport
Right.
lobby hotel.
Right.
Uh,
You were
he
at a
was
furry
there.
con. It's okay. You can say you were at a furry
No,
con.
it wasn't. It was a little because here's the thing. It was Joshua Quagmire, it was Sam Keith,
Right.
and it was Brian Polito, who
Right.
had just launched Evil Ernie
Right.
at that point. So it was the three of them
Right.
at a little,
Oh, what's funny
airport
is that
con.
Jose had picked up also in that pile of books a
A
copy
Critter.
of Critters, of Critter from Fantagraphics, and it had a Sam Keith cover on it. And
And
it's
I
like,
think
oh,
it's
wow,
the
those
first
were the
is.
days. Those were the days.
Yeah. All right. What's funny is all the books Daphne won't read, I own. So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's in
I
the
always
house.
try
I just have no interest.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that I tell her not to touch my books. So.
Well, yeah, that's
Although it's never stopped her from taking the one she wants to look at anyway. So,
right. Yeah.
You know, she'll grab my fat part of grandma's and buy
Right.
my
Yeah, I
PO.
still have that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
anyway, but what's funny is Todd is when it comes on to Marvel and DC, like the most recent thing I read of theirs was DC just recently released Jeff Johns' Green Lantern in like 4 trade paperbacks, like thick ones, and I read that and I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, but those books that are reprinting, aren't they like 10 years old?
Yeah,
Older than that.
Yeah.
yeah, probably even older than that, right?
Yeah, they're older than that.
But that's probably the most recent thing. Well, maybe when I forgot his name, the guy who was doing the horror stuff on the Hulk.
Immortal Hulk run?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, he was doing all the body horror.
Yeah, that was Immortal Hulk.
Right, and then the Donny Cates Hulk from a few years back. I was reading that. I mean Thor. I was reading that stuff. But yeah, but I mean that's about it. I just don't have a lot of faith in what they're doing. But currently, I just got from Mike Mignola, Bowling with Corpses and Other Strange Tales. So, you know, brand new book, hardcover. You know, look, I just started reading it last night. A lot of fun. So I mean, I'd rather be reading that stuff than anything that Marvel DC is producing at the moment. And then also the stuff that Mark Miller is doing. Who's the other guy? Who's the guy that did Low?
Rick Remender.
Yeah, Rick Remender. The stuff he's been doing has been really good. So, I mean, I'd rather be, and also Jeff Johns when it comes on to stuff that he's doing over at his Ghost Machine work that he's doing over at Image as well. I'd rather be reading that than anything that's being done over at Marvel or DC. So,
Yeah. I didn't expect this would be the reason that I'm the odd duck in the conversation because I get Marvel and DC every week.
nah, I gave up on that years ago, man.
It's all right.
You know, like I have my runs. You know, Daredevil, Frank Miller, Walter Simonson, blah blah.
But
blah.
30 and 40 years old. That's the whole point,
Yes,
right? It's
that's what
it's
it
like it's very clear to me that Marvel and DC do not make things that our sort of age group generally is like, yay, like let's go get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to find a new audience, which of course they should. I'm not saying don't do it. You need to keep freshening up the audience to get new people in, but that's not working either. So, you know, what is it they're supposed to do? Basically, keep making more movies. However, now the movies are tanking.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is Marvel if they don't make comics, and what is Marvel if their movies don't make even $500 million? I mean, what is the value of this stuff anymore?
Look, Marvel couldn't get me to buy the modern Rocket Raccoon. And that's with Scotty Young artwork. And I'm like going, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard too because a lot of these things that we old people look at, like we're not the demographic, like Tom said, we're not the demographic anymore. You know, we remember it a certain way, and if it's not that way, we tend to be a little grumpy about it, which is fine. We're allowed to be grumpy. We live through a lot of shit. So, but I think that, you know, for me, not being the demographic anymore, and knowing that they are trying to revitalize certain characters on some level. I mean, 100 years of Superman is a long time. That's a long time to have four monthly book for most of it, 4 monthly books going for 1,000 years, it seems like. So to be able to have that kind of run with that kind of character, who is pretty versatile, Some people would say he's not, but I think he is. And to be able to continue to modernize these characters and be able to continue to bring people in that they keep trying to reboot, movie after movie because these characters mean something to people. Whether the reboots are successful or not, that's a different story. But I think that being able to revitalize these characters for the next generation to do whatever they have to do. I always try to remind myself that it started in the 90s, like Daphne was saying, when they made Superman the Electro Superman. Mm-hmm. I personally loved the Electro Superman. It actually started even before that when he came back from the dead and he had the long hair and everybody was saying, oh, that's not my Superman. That's not my Superman. But if your wife got a haircut, she'd still be your wife. She's still the same person, right? So it's that freak out of, oh my gosh, Superman's a hippie or Superman has long hair now. But he still stands for all the things Superman stood for. When he became Electro Superman, he was still Clark Kent. He still stood for all those things. And we know, as readers of these books, it's a way to be able to bring new readers in, and hopefully they stay when it reverts back to the normal Superman, the normal Batman, the normal Wolverine, whatever it is. So I think that trying new things, taking those chances, whether they're hit or miss or not, probably would bring those younger new readers in to be able just to see what's going on. And I think that's not a bad thing to me.
Yeah. I mean, look, I just saw the latest Captain America. I would imagine most of you have seen it by now. Tom, you saw it, right?
The movie? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a solid meh. Right?
3 out of 5. That's how I gave him my review.
Right. So it was a solid meh. But I mean, that's about it. But that's why we have to look towards the future, towards places like Japan, Tokyo, and and the knives. Right? So here we go. Tokyo Blade Detectives.
That's me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Todd, do you want me to play this video?
If they can hear it, then heck yeah. Just be prepared for some epic rap.
Okay.
Tokyo rap! On every corner, danger lurking and trying to hurt you. Violence and overload in the streets of Tokyo. Time for some action, get the slashing against these 5 factions. Yeah, take them to school to the land where the guns outlaw. Only the blade can rule. I'm not in the mood for all the evil around me, so I'm ready to do. Embrace the past, but you won't stop our future. I'm a disillusion, now I'm choosing to change perspectives. Form a little sister leader of the Romans, now with the detectives. Yeah, we combine skills that'll beat the 9. Telltale there's peace of mind. We stay sharp, always hit the mark with our blades shining in the dark, ready for their attack. Every drop, every take, we gotta react. Think fast, cause the enemy's on the dash. Since all this evil behind the mask, we fight with full force till death's a fact. Every day's a clash, you never know who's gonna act. We on the crash course, gotta keep up the pace. Always on the chase, never know who's gonna be our next case. It doesn't matter if you're Ronin, a terrorist, or empress. Try to take us on, we'll see who passed the real test. We'll give it our all, though we don't know true rest. With Tokyo Blade Detectives, we are the best. Welcome to Tokyo.
Nice.
Woo.
Thank you.
Who did your music?
That was Omega Sparks. He's a friend and rapper of mine, and find him online. He's really great. And then Studio Leaf did the animation. That was a big project we did in 2023. Wow. We were like, oh, this will get done in a few months, and it took a whole year.
Wow.
Yeah. I love anime so much, and I love this comic series so much that I was like, I need to have an anime style intro. And so I found some people online, and they're like, yeah, we'll help you make that. So that's the result.
Nice. So they did a good job. So tell us about your book.
All right. So Tokyo Blade Detectives is an anime style comic, if not obvious. It's set 200 years in the future, in a version of Tokyo where guns are outlawed and only the blade can rule. Laser blades, that is. This creates a power vacuum that gives rise to 5 factions trying to overthrow the government. And so Tokyo is perpetually in a state of chaos. And a young 16-year-old detective named Miko, right there, is caught in the middle of it, just trying to survive, when in Volume 1, she gets a case that'll change everything. And this issue number 9, is the start of our 3rd volume, where a serial killer is in Tokyo, which doesn't sound odd until you see that he's very, very violent and uses old school weapons to do his kills, which is freaking out certain people. So our main characters, Miko and Bisho, are hired to find out what his deal is, stop him, and hopefully stop this kind of madness. But there's always more going on than you think. Yeah, and as you see, we have preview pages here. Lon Vuvon was my artist. He's really great. And that's me with Stitch. You're welcome. Yeah, I got a really good team on Tokyo Blade Detectives. Very proud of them. And we got all 9 issues available on the Kickstarter. So if you need to catch up, we have you covered in digital and physical tiers. We also have, you can get custom art, you can get stickers, you can get put in our thank you page. And if you're really grim, you could be one of the victims of the serial killer. That's our Getting Killed in Tokyo tier. Apparently people pledged to this. I've already had a couple of people back that. So, yeah. And then every comic series I've ever written is available either in reward bundles or as add-ons, including my superhero series Guardians, my sci-fi fantasy miniseries Home. We see what's 10,000 Miles, my Disney Pixar story. Take the House, which is the heist comic. I believe you pledged to last year, JD. Hope you liked it. And yes, I do star on that. You're welcome. 5 Bullets, 6 Men. This is the one I worked on with Source Point Press. They're really great guys, and I highly recommend working with them if possible. Crime Noir, if that's your thing. I got Secrets of Science, which is my STEM education comic. Worked about with 2 real friends of mine, Tamara Robertson and Tracy Fanera. Those are my Sherlock Holmes mystery novels. Yes, I write Sherlock Holmes. 6 books out right now in digital physical format via the add-ons, and then my most recent book, As You Wanted the Stars, my tribute to Star Trek and Babylon 5 and all the great sci-fi series that I grew up on as a kid and teenager.
Cool.
Thank you.
Todd, who's your favorite live-action Sherlock Holmes?
Oh, it's controversial, but I gotta say it's Johnny Lee Miller from Elementary. Really? I loved that show.
That's a good show.
Thank you. Like 2 years ago, it was on Hulu, and I binged it, and I was just like, "Oh, this is just as good as I remembered." You know, he was great. Then Lucy Liu as Joan Watson, that was great. Yeah. And as you can see here, we are in our final 5 days. We're ending on Friday. We're over 2,100, which I think someone increased their pledge in the last 40 minutes or so, because that was not like that before I came on the show. So we're hoping to get to 100 backers, and I hope some of you viewers will check it out. It's really fun. It's my tribute to everything anime, like all the anime I grew up on. In this issue we're working on right now, we actually just got done with a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference. So I hope you like that. I've got references to Akira, Digimon, even wrestling. Some of the great Joshi wrestlers is one of the inspirations for one of my characters, the Empress. If you know, you know. So if you love anime, if you love anime style comics or manga, please give Tokyo Blade Detectives a chance.
All right, cool. So you're telling me you didn't like Iron Man as Holmes?
What?
Robert Downey Jr.
Oh! I heard you didn't like Robert Downey Jr. at home. I'm like, what? No. He was nice. He definitely influenced some of my version of Sherlock. All of 3. I grew up on Downey Jr., Johnny Lee Miller, and then Benedict, of course. Right. All 3 of them affected my version of Sherlock. But if I was to rank them, it'd be Johnny Lee, Benedict, and then Robert. So, if
you've never seen Basil Rathbone in some of the original movies,
yes,
amazing. One of my favorite movies is Hound of the Baskervilles with Basil Rathbone. He is, to me, he's the best Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Shout out to my comic mentor, Brian K. Morris. When I started writing Sherlock, he goes, "Look, if you're gonna do it, you got to look at Basil because
you got to look at Basil." Got it. So amazing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like as you can see, I've written so many different genres and styles because I love all kinds of stories, and I know that everyone, as we proved with my question, likes different kinds of things. So I try to appeal to everyone, whether it's anime, Sherlock, sci-fi spacefaring novels, or something else in between.
All right, cool. So here we go with Corrected Handed Comics. So David, what are we looking at?
This is, if this is the homepage of my website, we're looking at Volume 7 collecting, there it is, volume 7, collecting issues 26, 27, 28, 29. The offspring for the elevator pitch is about 4 very troubled 21-year-olds who have all been physically, mentally, emotionally abused as children. They meet at a alternative school where they realize that they are not only linked by their like troubled past, but also linked by a sense of like a pull or draw to each other, like almost an ESP, a mental link to each other. As they get to know each other, they realize that their mental link is also starting to develop superpowers. As these superpowers develop, they become like a magnet for monsters and crazies and people who are trying to destroy them, these godlike creatures called the In Us All, which are the living embodiment of human emotion. So there is the heart in us all, there's the fight in us all, there's the child in us all, there's the malice in us all. And these godlike creatures, for some reason, are dragging these characters through the mud. I am right in the middle with that, to volume 7 right there, of my time travel portion of the series, where they're being drugged by the main bad guy, the Eternity Man, back further and further back in time. They go to World War I. They go to ancient Rome. They're eventually going to get further and further back into time. And these characters start to realize why they're being drugged back in time. And it's for an ultimate goal of one of the main bad guys of the series. It's been an amazing chance to be able to really stretch some writing and drawing muscles to be able to draw all these different timelines. And I could not be happier with the way the book is coming out. I've had these characters since I was 17 years old, and I am not 17 years old anymore. But they have grown and changed, and the story has grown and changed with me as I've got older. And once I started to realize that the story I was telling was about people, we were talking about being grounded in reality, how people often are not going to be able to solve their problems with a punch in the face to the monster, to the bad guy. Once I realized I was really telling a story about how we cope with problems and trauma, then the story just started to kind of write itself for me, for all 4 of these characters. I wanted all 4 of these characters to be able to confront these traumas and these problems all in a different way. One of them, lashes out and fights. One of them runs. One of them hides. One of them tries to solve their problems with jokes and ends up making more problems because people think he's a jerk. So once I kind of realized that the theme was not all of your problems are going to be solved, it started to kind of come together with the kind of monsters and the kind of crazy bad people and the time travel that these characters had to go through to be able to grow as people, to be able to deal with these traumas. I am, like I said, more than halfway through my 50 issues, issue 29, and I'm almost done with issue 30 right now. And it is, for me, other than my wife and 2 children, the greatest thing I've ever done.
Cool. How many issues do you release a year? Like what's your schedule? 6
Yeah,
issues?
so I'll try to get 4 to 5 issues done in a year. I did take a year off between season 2 and season 3. I'm right in the middle of season 3 right now because I wanted to put out my second 100-plus page graphic novel, Late in Lightspeed, which came out earlier last year, about this time last year. And I needed a little bit of time to be able to, relax and think about the next step for the offspring. So, and I had this 100-plus page graphic novel ready to go in my brain. So I took about a year off, and now with issue 30 about to come out, my goal is to get 5 issues done every year until I hit 50.
Oh, okay, cool, nice. All right, nice. I mean, when did you start this? How many years ago?
So it has to be maybe 7 years ago now,
Okay.
6 years ago, something like that. So, and with other books kind of, being done, they're my 4-issue miniseries, Evolution Utero, 5 one-shots, my 2 100-plus page graphic novels. I wrote a book in there also. I actually write novels also. My first book was a Western called The Last Ride to Tyburn. So if you like spaghetti Westerns and Westerns from the 50s and 60s, like Have Gun Will Travel or Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen, you'll like this kind of Western novel that I wrote. And I'm currently working on my second book right now that I'm busting out pretty quick. I plan on being done with it before summer hits.
All right, cool. And I see the links just bring you to Amazon.
The links just go right to Amazon. Yep.
All right, cool. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Listen, man. I mean, now let me ask you a question. I mean, as far as look, I mean, I don't need exact numbers, right? But would you say that you're doing all right as far as sales through Amazon?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to retire anytime soon.
Right. No, that's all. We're all in that boat. So.
Yeah, it's. I would say that I would make a little bit more in a finite time period with conventions, selling trades at conventions. But yeah, it's going well enough to where I'm not crying in my pillow every night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Nice. All right. So this is issue 29. Now, just out of curiosity, when do you expect issue 30 to drop?
So mid March.
Mid-March. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Listen, it's great stuff. I mean, let's see. To volume 7, you got 2 on the buy, which is nice.
Season 1 and Season 2 collected in Omnibuy 1 and 2.
Yeah, the omnibuses. Yeah, I know.
Omnibuses. I like Omnibuy too. Omnibuy's better.
Yeah, well, omnibus. Omnibuy. Who the hell knows? Yeah, but I mean, it's hell. You got 2 of them, so it's nice. All right, cool, man. I mean, listen. So everyone, go check those out. I like it. Hold on, we got. Here we go. And now we got Outlaw Knights, issue 1. Ben, do you want me to play this video?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, it looks nice.
Nice.
All right, so Ben, walk us through this. What are we looking at?
Well, Outlawed Knights is a ongoing series taking place in the 31st century. Humanity has begun colonizing into outer space, and history is very much repeating itself as the nations of Earth are all at each other's throats competing over territory and resources. It's a chaotic time period. I can't go too heavily into it, but essentially our main character, Cyrus Lawson, has settled on a small, out-of-the-way, insignificant colony called Therese, and he's joined the colony guard there because he's got a little bit of heroic spirit, but he's not expecting a lot of trouble. But right from the get-go of issue 1, that dream is ripped right from under him as a group of pirates are invading his settlement looking for a special piece of data that is going to lead to a treasure that everybody and their mother has their eyes on. And so, without really giving issue 1 away, I'm going to say that by the end of it, he ends up being kidnapped by these pirates, which is leading into issue 2, which is going to be launching on May 1st. And so basically, I've got a little bit of a Treasure Island vibe going, combined with some cyberpunk, combined with westerns, combined with a little bit of Ocean's 11. I'm throwing every genre in the mix. And so this is nonstop action, awesome characters, and yeah, you guys got to read it.
All right, cool. So All right, you said it's an ongoing series. How many issues are you looking to produce a year at this point?
Oh God, I haven't really pinned down exactly how many I'll be able to per year because basically I'm funding the artwork myself, and a lot of times that it takes me a while because I'm not the richest man on earth.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
But I'm hoping to make it more streamlined because issue 2 was kind of delayed for a while there. But I would like to produce like an issue a year.
Okay, cool. And the issues, are they 24, 32, 64? How many is it? Like a thick issue, normal?
They're currently 25 pages each, but I'd like to push that to 50 eventually.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Now, here's a question for you. I see you're on Indiegogo. Now, is there a reason you chose to go on this platform before Kickstarter? Because I know you got a pre-launch for Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mainly chose Indiegogo first off because I think back in 2018, a lot of the YouTubers I was watching who were launching campaigns were all using Indiegogo, and that they were having great success with it. And so I was just kind of following their lead. But this time around, I am going to be simultaneously launching Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Fund My Comic.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's probably, it might drive you a little insane, but yeah, it's probably the smartest way to go at this point.
Yeah, I'm just, whatever's going to work, I'll do it.
I got you, man. I got you. All right, cool. Now, this is your first comics project you've ever done? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, issue 1 was my first one, and we successfully funded back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And so I relaunched a Second Chance campaign that's just been going in demand for a while.
Right. Okay, cool. This is a really, really good looking book, man. I like it.
Oh, well, thank you. I hire nothing but the best. That's why I'm poor.
Yeah, that'll do it to you every
It is,
time.
looks really nice.
Yeah, that'll do it to you every time. Hold on, and then you also have the pre-launch. I just want to pull that up as well. So you got your pre-launch up, right? And it says launching.
yeah.
When do you expect to launch?
May 1st.
May 1st. All right, cool. Very nice. And,
Yeah, I have the pre-launch for the Indiegogo too. That one I put the actual trailer for issue 2 on.
right. And you also sent me your YouTube channel.
Yeah, because I have a YouTube channel called Fusebox where I talk about all manner of pop culture topics. Particularly, I talk a lot about video games, but I've done some comic book reviews on there. I like to critique storylines, particularly in TV shows, because I feel like I've noticed a lot of the folks I know, they don't really put much of an emphasis on the storytelling aspect, and that's my favorite part of all of these creative endeavors.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So everybody go sign up. Right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and listen, and while you're at it, you can sign up on my channel too. So we're trying to get it's just like, geez, this takes forever. I get like one a week. I'm like, click. I'm like, all right. I have 484 videos and 485 followers. So I figure when I hit 500 videos, I'll probably have 500 followers at that point. So it goes up one at a time. All right, Tom. Penny for your soul.
So we don't have any pre-launch pages or anything fancy like that. We don't really do that stuff here over at Big Dogging. We launched this book on the 8th, so we'll have the pre-launch page probably by the end of the week. Yeah, this is our, like we said at the beginning, 15 years of Big Dog Inc. We started 15 years ago with Penny for Your Soul. That's the first book we ever launched in 2010. And so in March, we are bringing the book back. This will be a 2-issue little mini series called Mary Magdalene's Seven Demons. They'll both be 40 pages. So we're doing this as the primary cover. We're using the old Marvel framework from back when they did their 30th anniversary or whatever it was back in the day. So we did our own version of the framework by C.B. Zane. The art is series artist J.B. Netto, who has been with me here from day one on this book. He has done all but 2 issues of this series, and new colorist Chris Hall. So I figured we'd show you what is coming up in March, and then we'll show you this as well. This is something special that we're doing. For those that don't know, the Dirty Pair anime celebrates 40 years of release this year.
Oh my God, Project Eden.
That's right. Yeah, 1985. 1985. So I've always been a fan of the Dirty Pair, and I was like, how do I celebrate what the hell the Dirty Pair is? So we took a couple of our characters, Critter and Chloe. We're going to do a little 8-page tribute story to the Dirty Pair, and we coupled that with an homage to Adam Hughes's Dirty Pair cover from a million years ago, which in and of itself is an homage to an old Dave Stevens piece from back in the 80s. So that's Pedro Perez doing our cover there, and we'll be doing this in April.
All right, cool. Everybody's homaging.
Yeah, when the time is right, you got to do it.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, Dirty Pair, you know.
I've got an upcoming series, and the cover or variant cover that I'm going to do is an homage to The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the all-time great movies. I know classic stuff too, guys. Just saying.
All right, I'm gonna throw my thing up there real quick. This is for Dreamweavers. This is Dreamweavers #1. So this is like, if you missed the first campaign, you can pick up you can pick it up here again, and yeah, this will be out hopefully another couple of weeks. I'm fulfilling.
Just launch it now. Just click it right
I
now.
should, right? Just, yeah, there you go. What is it? We're fulfilling Magi's Grace hopefully this week, and then hopefully the week after that, that'll all be out, and then we'll launch this. So that'll be going out. So Dreamweaver is about 4 young kids. When they go to sleep, they wake up. When they wake up, and they summon their role-playing game characters into our reality, and these are them, and they're like these weird characters from other dimensions that come in, and these kids are like taking over their bodies, and while they're doing it, they're hunting down demons and, you know, just having all kinds of mayhem. So there you go. So we'll leave that for that. And then Daphne, what's your question?
What's my question? I don't know. I'm still getting over the Dirty Pair Project Eden thing. Over the top, nothing gets standing in our way.
If you really need some more Dirty Pair, Daphne, it's actually on Pluto TV.
Right. No, he has it on.
I have the Blu-ray.
DVD. Yeah, he has it on Blu-ray. So yeah, it's just bringing me back right now. So.
So JD, you told us to prepare a question, not a musical number. I am underprepared. Okay, I was not ready for this particular spotlight.
Right. My question. Actually, you know, it's been a while since, and usually I'm so used to people like saying, it's like, oh, you know, it's like, oh, I'm doing my 80 issue, you know, series, and then they never make it past issue 3, right? Or they barely make it past issue 1. Yeah. And, you know, it's like I'm really enjoying the idea of people finally saying, yeah, I'm on issue 30, I'm on issue 25, or however million issues that Critter is on, you know? So my question is actually related to that, is that my current series is 16 issues, and sometimes I get a little concerned about retaining Kickstarter audience attention, because it's like, I don't know if people are used to that many issues anymore. Like, I guess they like, when you have a series that's that long, do you get concerned that people might just drop off going, oh, this is too much of a commitment for me? Do you get concerned like the longer your series goes, the more it kind of like it might be a turnoff to people? Because that's just something that I've just been getting paranoid about lately. So,
Daphne, was that to me?
Yes,
well,
Dave.
anybody who can answer that.
Well, David is up, so
Right.
Yeah, I think that all those concerns are definitely concerns that I had putting these together. I think that for me, when I was developing The Offspring, I had that in my brain, and I'm such a big fan of so many different genres that I knew that for each chapter, like every 13 issues, 12, 13 issues or so, I wanted to adjust the genre. So that idea of like it kind of getting stale or boring, or people will be like, okay, we got enough with this already. So my first 13 issues was very much like crime, drama, thriller. Like it was about kids who were kidnapped and they're trying to find, and there's a cult and there's a whole thing. Then season 2 kind of delved a little bit more with like sci-fi and like interdimensional kind of travel kind of thing going on. And then season 3 here that I'm working on right now is full on time travel. So if you're a fan of like Quantum Leap or things like that, then this is the book for you. So in each season that I have, I try to interlace the big overarching story into these smaller stories that kind of weave in and out of different genres. I also think, so hopefully in my mind, that'll keep it fresh, that'll keep it moving, that'll keep people kind of on their toes about what's happening. I also think that in this case, for somebody who is in my situation, that is an indie creator that's not going to be able to get 12 books out in a year, that kind of chance for people to step back and maybe find volume 1 and read it, and then eventually, find volume 2, and then maybe 6 months go by, and then volume 3. I think that maybe works in my favor a little bit because they won't feel that like, well, I'm giving this guy too much of my money, kind of a thing. It'll be, okay, I've got $20 now to be able to give to this creator because I liked volume 1, I like volume 2, hopefully they like volume 3. So I think it kind of works in my favor where I'm not like bashing down with them on content every 5 seconds. I also think that one of my plans was, I think I've said it earlier, with my one-shots, that it spans so many different genres. The Sock Hop Killer is like an 80s thriller, slasher kind of comic. And Will Aliens Do My Homework has the protagonist as a 4th grade art teacher, which I've never seen in any kind of story before. So I kind of use those as a bridge for people who go, maybe I don't want to do 29 issues now, but I can do a couple one-shots and see if I like this guy's art and stories. And hopefully that'll be something that kind of drags them in. Okay, I want to see more, and drags them into The Offspring. And hopefully there's enough there that they want to stick around. I hope so.
Fair enough.
That was
Ben,
my plan anyway.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
I forgot the question.
Like if you're doing like
Oh.
the long game,
Right.
You're doing a lot of issues. Are you concerned about people kind of like waning off as the series gets longer?
Right. I definitely am, but I think I'm trying to keep it kind of contained, and I'm trying to also ramp up the tension and everything, like, because I would say with each issue you want to have a self-contained arc within that issue, but you also want it to kind of bait interest for the next one. But yeah, I think from everything I've seen other creators going through, I think that's definitely an inevitability, and you just kind of roll with it. But there might be ways to kind of spark up interest in it later on as it goes along.
Cool. Mr. Todd, what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I have 9 issues of Tokyo Blade Detectives out, or going to be out. So I have dealt with this, and I'm not going to lie to you, Daphne. I'm going to take my glasses off. showed a dramatic
So serious.
attention to my face.
Serious.
I have been
Oh, so
freaking.
serious.
I have been freaking the heck out during my
Yeah.
current campaign. Okay.
Yes.
Because for those who don't do have Kickstarter, we the creators have a backer report.
Mhm.
Okay. And so what many creators like myself do is we will launch a campaign and then we will do either updates or personal messages to the people who have backed us before. So I had a great start to my campaign for TBD number 9. Was very happy with it. Then I hit that cliff hard. And I'm just like, but that doesn't make sense. I've had between my last campaign, which was Take the House, which I had 100 backers, and then I had 100 for 6 for Tokyo number 8. Like, where are all my peeps? Where are all the Tokyo reps? So I was like, okay, what's going on? So I started DMing them and I did updates, and sometimes they would come and sometimes they didn't. And if every person that backed TBD number 8 backed 9, I'd probably be well over 120 right now. So that's a chunk. So I worry about that for sure. But there are a few things I feel counter that. The first one, which David actually touched upon, is that people sometimes come and go. I had a good friend of mine back Tokyo early on, and then he dropped out because like it lost interest for me. He could still come back. You could come back, Gil. You can come back. And then for this campaign, I actually had someone who pledged 1 through 6, then had to drop off for one reason, then came back to 9 and said, hey, can you help me catch back up on the other issues? I'm like, yeah, do this and I'll get them to you. And then one thing I'm noticing with this one is that I've had a lot of people do my catch-up tiers. So even if you lose people, you can get new people to replace them. They can be replaced, Daphne. And then, of course, there's the other element, which we haven't talked about, which is like Comic-Cons or other stores where you sell the books at. I was at a con last weekend, and Tokyo was a big hit there. People buying Volume 1 or Volume 1 and 2. And I told them, hey, I have a Kickstarter up. You can get the start of the third volume there. And so that might come in. So there's always a legit reason to fear losing people. But if you push hard enough, like not spamming, but push hard enough, you can remind them like, hey, this is happening. Or new people will come in and say, oh, this is interesting. I've got at least 15 new backers on this one who've done the catch-up tiers between digital and physical. And if they like it, maybe they'll do number 10. And then with David, he mentioned like breaks and other things. I do an arc, 4 issues, and then I take like a year off so that they can rest and like, again, not pounding them with constant Kickstarters. Right. I do another project, and then I come back and I start the next arc. And it's worked out for me well enough so far. So it's okay to have that fear, but don't let it consume you from doing the longer stuff, because there will always be people who don't know about it the first time, can't pledge to it another time, but will come to it later, and that's totally fine because that's still a reader of your book.
Yeah, because it always feels like they're either saying, "Oh, you don't have enough issues. It's I'll wait until you're more committed," or it's, "Oh, you have too many issues. That's way too much of a commitment for me."
Yeah, and there will be people like that, and then there are people who would say, "Oh, this person is doing a miniseries. That's an easier commitment for me. My next book is a 5-part miniseries, and so I expect that there will be people like, oh yeah, I could do 5 issues of a series versus wait, you have 9 issues of Tokyo, or David's got 29 issues of his thing." It's everyone's got their different reactions to this, and that's the waters that we as creators have to navigate. How I want Tokyo to go as long as possible. Will I be able to do that? I don't know, but I've made to arc 3 so far, and that's honestly longer than I thought I would get. So you never know until you try.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Tom, I know there's a problem you come across.
No.
Okay.
Tom is perfect.
Well, no. See, here's the thing. I don't think that quantity of a product is a problem in this capacity, unless it's bad. If someone doesn't like it, then if it's bad, then it's bad. But I've had more people sort of talk to me about how incredible it is that I've done so much, that they're like, holy shit, you've done all of this? Like, wow. When there was a time when I was talking to retailers and we were like, yeah, we're on like issue Critter 25. They're like, 25? no books get to 25 anymore. I'm like, well, what do you want me to tell you? Like, we're
Right,
committed to what we're doing. We're not monkeying around over here. What else do you need me to show you that we're serious about what we're doing besides we keep doing it? So, you know, when I get to Comic Cons and stuff, you know, and people come down and they're like, oh, there's like 5 volumes of Oz and 5 volumes of Critter and 5 volumes of Penny. They're just like, holy crap. Like there's so much, but not in the context of, oh, there's so much. Like they're excited that it exists and that they can keep going with it. Whether they buy volume 1, they know they can come back and get 2, 3, 4, 5, whenever they want to get it. So for me, I always see an excitement of there's so much. I've never seen a downside of, oh God, how do I even start? Like, no, you just go to number 1 and you keep rolling, especially when you get to the trade paperback stage. When it's floppies, it might be a little bit different, but once you start to show like, here's a book that you can take home and read it, and then there's a 2 and then there's a 3, that I think is where sort of the perception changes of comics, because it starts to lean into more of that manga realm where you have a book and, you know, you can put some time and effort into the book. With Kickstarter is not a representation of anything really, because it's such a wishy-washy, in, out, yes, now, no, then. You know, the economy's bad, the economy's good. Like, it's such a crazy up and down roller coaster. You can't really ever judge anything unless you see like consistent falling. Then you have a problem and you have to analyze what the problem is. But if you see a roller coaster, which a lot of the creators that I see, they see roller coaster. Oh, we did really great this time. Oh, we kind of did bad this time. Oh, we did great this time. Oh, that's just normal sales. You go to a con, this con's great. You go to a con, this con's not great. That's just normal sales stuff. Obviously, when we all are talking about Kickstarter and crowdfunding, we want to try and maintain as much of that, because that's our starting point for all this stuff. We want to maintain that as best we can. But I don't think the next issue is a problem. I think the next issue is only a problem if a previous backer now doesn't have expendable income. Sarah's talking about losing her job. You know, there's just extenuating circumstances, or quite frankly, because the internet doesn't work the way we think it does, folks, people forget about this stuff. And they're just like, oh, I didn't even know you were on the 3rd issue now or whatever. And then, you know, like Todd said, they do catch ups. So for me, I don't think that there's a problem just going. Now, the other thing for me though, is when I talk about my books, I tell everybody there's an ending for this. Yeah. We're aiming somewhere. I know where Critter ends. I know where Penny ends. I know where Oz ends. There's an ending. And I think in that context, from like a pitch standpoint, I think that works to put it in their head that it's not like, well, I have to buy this for the rest of my life. You know, so I think that works. I think that's helpful. It's also helpful if you're writing arcs that are at least semi self-contained. You can have continuity through it all, but if you're like, you can just read volume 3 and you'll know what's going on. You know, that'll help sales as well. But I don't think that there's any downside to wanting to do long runs. My suggestion would be this, and we do both. And I've seen both work. Penny for Your Soul, for example, is designed to be a recurring set of miniseries, 7 issues, 7 issues, 7 issues. And we just tell our story that way. So you get 1 through 7, then you get 1 through 7, then you get 1 through 7. So the numbers are a little different than 1 through 35. But with Critter and Oz, those numbers just run, and we're up to 25 and beyond on both of those books. And people are excited to see that it's continuing. That's the other side of it, is if they see it's continuing, there's an excitement level. But at the same time, like we've seen with, you know, like we talked about earlier, like the Marvel movies and stuff, there may be a point where that excitement level starts to wane off, and you've got to see if you can do something to, well, number one, you have to decide if it's waning because they're not interested, or if it's waning because of extenuating circumstances. But if it's waning because maybe you're getting feedback of like, well, you know, nothing's really happened for this arc, I wasn't really game for it, then you as a writer have to kind of be like, well, I either got to wrap this up or I got to figure out like how to infuse it with a little extra pop to bring them back into the fold and get them going again. Brian Pulido, for example, his books, his Lady Death books are all continuity, but everything is number 1. So whoever's coming in their brain this is a starting point for a story. They get 40, 60 pages, whatever it is. And then, they're on to the next one, he hopes. So that's another sort of thought process is, just Dan Mendoza does the same thing. For the most part, everything he does is just, it's this character number one, this character number one, this character number one. But the story does flow through all of the number ones. So there's an alternative way to kind of game the system in that regard too. So there's ways to do it. But to the question, I don't think longevity is a problem. Look at how we celebrated Todd McFarlane hitting Spawn 300, right? The longest running indie comic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Even Marvel and DC, like, they even do reboots now, right? They run 12 issues, 24 issues, they reboot it to a number one. They understand the value of the number one, but they sure as hell know the value of number 1,000 when Superman came around. And all of a sudden they were like, let's go back to those old numbers, 1001, 1002, 1003. So longevity is not the problem. I think it's just maintaining the quality of the product to keep the people wanting to come back to it is where you gotta, try and put the energy.
I guess it's to as long as they feel like they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like TV shows, right? You're going to have endless seasons. Some episodes are good, some episodes are bad. The difference, though, is that with us, they have to go actively get our product versus sitting on the sofa and clicking the on button.
Yeah.
So if there's that's the barrier to entry is like, oh yeah, Critter, I kind of like Critter, but I got to go on my computer, I got to go to Kickstarter, I got to find the thing, I got to click it, I got to wait a couple months. Like, it's a flawed system, and it's within the world that we live in, which is you can order McDonald's and have it here in 20 minutes. It's a flawed system, but unfortunately it's just where we are right now.
Yeah.
We make it work.
Yeah. It's funny because as long running as the Oswald Chronicles is, I kind of don't concern myself too much with the audience. I write the stories, I put them out, I do whatever advertising I'm going to do for them, and I just keep it moving because in the end, for me, I'm doing the work for myself. I'm not really doing it for an audience, right? And I'm sharing it with the audience, and if they want to be there, they're there. And the more the more the merrier, obviously. But I don't really spend too much stock and time of being like worrying about, did this person come back? Did that person come back? And Todd is completely correct in saying that, we always have people that, they'll be gone for 3 or 4 campaigns, but then they'll show up on this 4th or 5th one. I just had somebody contact me. They were like, hey man, could you, on your next campaign, can you put these books on one level for me? And he was like, it was like 7 campaigns. I'm like, sure. So I made one level for this person, and it was like, it's gonna be like a $350 level. But he's just like, yeah. He says, I was out of work for a little while, but he's on his feet now, and he's like, he wants to catch up. So that's cool, and those people are gonna come in and out all the time. So that's the sort of thing that's just gonna happen. But in the end, the important thing is just getting the work done, and just putting it out there. Because if you worry too much about, what's the audience concerned about, I have, like, the two of us are in different boats, right? I hire people to actually work on my books, whereas you're producing, your own work. So you don't have those pressures. But, I need sales. I do need them. I need them to pay the artists. And I have, 6, 7 different artists that I'm working with right now that rely on me to pay them on the regular. It's like I'm paying them every week, and so it's, I need to make money. But again, I don't concern myself, it's weird because it's like, it's a concern and it's not a concern all at the same time, because I have to worry about my story. I can't worry about anything else. The other portion to it is, how hard in the paint do you go to promote, right? And it's like Todd said, you don't want to spam everybody. You don't want to spam anyone, but sometimes you got to, get close to that line.
Yeah.
You want their money.
Yeah, because there was one thing that I didn't do on my last campaign. I mean, it's like it had a little dip. Nothing crazy. It's like I know because I do get that thing where it's like people skip issues. So I'm not that concerned. It's just the standard Kickstarter paranoia. You do enough of these, and it's like you start making up shit in your head.
Yeah, you're not busy enough.
Right. Yeah.
You stay busy long enough, you're not gonna get nothing in your head.
No,
You're like, work,
I am
work,
very
work.
busy, but paranoia is busier. So, yes, because and also it's like it's not like I'm going to change the story. It's 16 issues. It's not going anywhere. It's not that is not changing. It's just at least with this last campaign, it's like I can kind of narrow down where I think my dip happened. Like there was one thing where I felt like, I should have done that, and I didn't think of doing that. But next time, for the next campaign, I'm going to make sure I do it. So see if in the end, like that's the issue. But yeah, brains are stupid, Jose.
Hey, JD.
Yes, sir.
Two things. I want to answer Sarah's questions first. Are comics generally cheaper at the cons than when pledging online? I don't remember. Technically, yes, but it also
really.
It depends on the campaign. Like, for example, on my Kickstarter for Tokyo, a physical copy of just number 9 is $10. That's because I have to print it and then ship it. Then at cons, I sell the whole volume for $20. So obviously that's a bit of a different pay scale. It just depends on the book and the creator and what the situation is. Also, I apologize, but I do need to bounce. It was a lot of fun being on here. Thank you all for having me and having some very fun conversations. And hopefully I'll get to see you on the next one.
Sure.
All right, Todd.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. So
Yeah,
Dave,
the real thing with the cons is, when you're doing Kickstarters or buying online, you always have a shipping charge. Some sort of shipping is you either have that there or it's built into the price in some capacity. So there's always that. So generally, if you go to a con, you're going to get a cheaper price, but it's usually like shipping price, $5 ish, something like that. Might be your variation.
Well, that's true. Yeah, because it's like I'm making a price list for my books for if I don't get it to Anime NYC, then for Baltimore, and it's like it's just like, wow, this shit's expensive. Like I'm finding my own books expensive.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, technically on Kickstarter it's even more so because of the shipping. But at the same time, supposedly you get all this extra stuff on the Kickstarter that you don't get at conventions.
That's true. Yeah. If you do the Kickstarter, you get all the bonus stuff. If you go to if you buy it at the con, you just get the book.
Right. So it's like, I guess it depends on I guess what you consider expensive. I guess.
Well, I think you hit it on the head earlier, Daphne, with the Amazon. If you're print on demand in Amazon, say you have 2 volumes of whatever, and you on Amazon it takes $5 to print one of those volumes, so you get like 5 copies of that, and then you sell them at the convention for $20 each.
Right.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm no mathematician, but I think that's more. So so that kind of thing, to be able to do that with the one shots, the 24 pages, the single issues. Yeah, if it costs you $250, $225, whatever to print, and then you sell it for $6, you're doing okay.
All right, cool. David, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is more of a process question.
Okay.
As all creators here. So Todd was talking a little bit earlier about Wolverine and Cyclops. And I've always said, maybe it's an unpopular opinion, that I think that there are certain characters that are very overrated in comics, but they get most of the action. And I'll give you 2 examples, and some people might yell at me, and that's okay. One of them is Wolverine, who I believe is an overrated character, not a bad character, just overrated. And the other one is Batman. Not a bad character. Just DC clearly pushes Batman more than any other character, any other character they've ever had. Because Batman sells, and sure. So my question is, what are characters that you think are overrated or underrated And how does that thought process go into how you create your main characters for your books, if at all?
All right.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Go ahead, Daphne. You got it.
Yeah. I have an intense hatred for Deadpool and Harley Quinn, and all
Oh,
that's
see,
Thank
I
you.
knew I liked you. I
and
knew it.
all that's done is make me hate fan art even more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably because of those two characters that it's like that I really ended up with an intense dislike for fan art.
Nice. Who was your second character? You said Deadpool
It was
and
Deadpool and Harley Quinn. I
Harley Quinn.
absolutely abhor Harley Quinn. I have no
Yeah.
idea
Thank you.
how
Yeah.
that character got this popular.
Thank you.
Except that she fits she fits a fetish.
Yes.
She fits a fucking crazy girl's fetish. That's it. You know? And it's like I don't understand how this I mean, I find the both of them insufferable. You know, and it's just like but how it affects my work is that it makes me not want to do fan art. Just in general.
You should be
just
doing
in
the
general.
fan art of all the characters that don't get the love. You
Yeah.
should be
No,
Who's your
no
that.
fan
most
art.
who's your
No
most
fan art at
underrated
all.
character?
An underrated character.
Yeah, character
Well,
you think
see,
deserves more exposure?
Go ahead, Daphs. You got one. You do have one.
Oh, Better Ray Bill.
Hey, Ray Bill. Yeah. Okay.
Better Ray Bill. You know what? It's like, look, I have no idea what the character is. I have no idea who he is. He is just pure aesthetic for me.
Yeah.
And it's like him. He's my Blorbo. Him. That gremlin in the corner.
Nice.
I want to know more about him.
Awesome.
All right. Ben, what are your thoughts?
Well, really, I mean, Daphne kind of took my answer there, where I think the most overrated character in comics is Harley Quinn.
Wow.
I cannot stand her. And I actually was okay with the character in the beginning when like she was the Joker's girlfriend, because that there was like the tragic backstory there. So there was like a little bit of sympathy you had for her, but then everybody starts cosplaying as her and making her like, oh, I want to see Harley Quinn beat up Batman and all that. And I'm like, they took the character and blew her way out of proportion.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where her voice is naturally annoying. So, you know, I can't stand the character now. And the fact that she's got her own solo series and all that stuff, I'm like, no. So I find her incredibly overrated. And as for underrated, let me think. I don't know if he's underrated, really. I think he probably has enough of a fan base, but I really love the character Ra's al Ghul.
Okay.
Because I just love that notion of a character who's been around for thousands of years, who's like, you know, orchestrating all of these different aspects of governments across the world, trying to reshape the world in the way he sees fit. I don't know. Something about that I love.
Yeah, and you think that somebody like Ra's al Ghul would be a better main villain for Batman than Joker is, because Joker is just insanity, and Batman,
Yes.
if he's really as smart as people say he is, should be able to shut that down fairly quickly, while Ra's al Ghul is you know, just as smart, just as rich as Bruce Wayne, and should be considered more of a threat to
Oh God, yeah.
society on whatever level. So yeah, that's definitely a dichotomy that needs to be switched.
Yeah, and plus, like, I feel like they kind of cut his plot lines kind of short in the stories, where he has like some big plan, it gets ruined immediately, and then that's it for the League of Assassins. And it's
It
like,
became more about his daughter.
yeah, and it's like that's a huge network of people across the world. Like, it's got to be much grander than what they give us, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Great
Cool.
characters.
Tom, what do you think?
I Anything with a pop is overrated.
That's everything. But that's everything.
I know. Critter's not a pop though, so we win. You see?
Do you know how long it took me to wait for them to finally make pops of the characters from The Secret of Nim? I've been waiting years for that.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Come inside or
They
go
finally
away.
made it. Yeah.
It's
I spent $60 on pops.
Yeah.
it's
I didn't know there were Secret of Nim pops. Ah,
Yeah,
you have to go get those now. Dang it.
I mean, we understand the stuff that is, you know, the mainstream stuff. It's so wildly overrated. Because again, one of the reasons is there's no evolution. And if you're going to tell me that evolution for Batman is absolute Batman, it's not evolution. That's just making him more violent, more aggressive, there's nothing interesting about that. But that's the world that we live in. That's why we had that dark metal series for a while, where you know, everything just became metal. I was like, God, this is shit, guys. This is garbage. But it's made for an audience. It's made for an audience that wants the hyper violence, you know, whatever, the
Just
hard
don't
edge.
show his dick and you're okay.
Like, oh, God,
Everyone draws the
so
line
bad.
at that.
So bad. So yeah, I mean, all those characters just there's just no appeal to me. But the reality is, there's no appeal to anything like within the Marvel and DC universe to me. You know, the age old question is you know, what would you, if you could work for Marvel or DC, like what would you do? And the answer is, I don't even know. I really don't know. There was a time where I would have wanted to write like Zatanna or something, but now she's everywhere. Everybody, I loved her before anyone else knew who the hell fuck she was. So get out of my sandbox, you guys. But now that she's everywhere, it's like, this isn't even interesting to me anymore. You know, I always kind of fall back to some of the really bizarre, like C-level characters. Like I collect still a lot of Princess Python comics, like when she appears. It doesn't even matter what she's in. It's just like, give me that. That's strange. That's Princess Python with a huge snake that's crushing Iron Man right now. This is crazy and weird and cool. I think Silver Sable is probably a very underutilized and underrated potential character. You know, when she had her own series for a while, it was almost comic relief. You know, Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, like that's dumb. But like you were talking about with Ra's al Ghul, she's got a network. You know, she's a military leader. You know, she runs a country. Like she's potentially a humongous character if they were ever to kind of dive in and do something with her. On the DC side of things, I don't know. There's not really much going on over there that I've always been a huge Wonder Woman fan, like my whole life, but I dropped out of it many years ago. In fact, I was at a panel one time, my first ever panel, and it was me, and I was supposed to be with 3 other guys, and they showed up late, so it was me with a room full of people that didn't know who the hell I was, and so I was just like, look, I'll tell you who I am, but you don't know, and that's fine. So we can just ask questions like, what do you want to know about me? And they were like, well, you know, what characters do you like, DC or stuff? And I was like, Wonder Woman, and they were like, oh yeah, cool, and then I was like, yeah, and then they had this Gail Simone run, and I could watch their eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that run. And I was like, and then I dropped the book after 5 issues, and you can see their face like, what?
Right. How dare you?
Exactly, right. But I was just being honest. I was like, it's just not good. And that point, I was out of Wonder Woman, and I've never really had a consideration of like coming back to it. So, I don't know. I like I said earlier, I don't know how to get us back into that stuff anymore. For me, if they did some weird characters like a Silver Sable book, a Princess Python book, something that something that we haven't seen 100 times already, you know, you'd at least grab my interest. You'd make me go, oh, okay, that's something. But every time Marvel or every time DC does something, it's Batman or tangential Batman, and it's like I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, I think these characters are so grounded, like the archetypes are so grounded in every other kind of genre, you know, whether it's novels or books or TVs or comics or whatever it is. These archetypes are so known now that you could find a million characters like Batman, a million characters like Superman, a million characters like Captain America, a million whatever it is. And I think at this point, you're absolutely right. I think that some of the C and D listers that have like solid concepts to them should maybe start to rise up a little bit and forget about Joker for a minute.
Not the parallels. Like everybody's like Young Avengers. Like
No.
I don't want parallels.
Yeah,
I want something that just exactly, something that just sits out there on its own. It is its own thing. Let's play with that.
I think we've just made their new long-term like crisis is all the A, B, and C listers, villains and heroes, wiped off the face of the earth. Now the C and D'ers got to rise up.
Yeah. Well, like you guys remember when they did the New Warriors, right? Those weren't parallel guys. They were just bizarro dudes that they were like, let's just make this strange team and put it together. And it was a hit. It went off. Yeah. Even Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not a James Gunn fan, but like, you fucking put a tree on the team, and people were like, "Yo, what?" Yeah.
And it worked.
So it's clear that it can be done. Mm-hmm. It's just you just have to have somebody behind it that can really give it the pop that it needs to make it work.
Well, you need somebody behind that can like sell it to the bean counters.
Yes, yeah.
That's the real problem. It's like the reason why we see, like, Batman adjacent or 17 versions of Spider-Man is because the bean counters go, well, the last one did well. What if we did more of that?
Yeah. Let's do that 3,000 more times.
Exactly.
Right.
That it's like, like Harley Quinn is popular, so let's push that
let's make
character
punchline
more. It's like, I don't even. I get a headache. I mean, it's shit like that just makes you go, pornography is free. It's like, if you guys need materials, just go to Pornhub. You don't need to make up stupid ass characters like Punchline and Harley Quinn.
I'd say that Paul Dini's laughing all the way to the bank, though. I mean, to be able to have a character start in a cartoon and then grow to what she's done now, and it kind of harkens back to how much is Paul Dini laughing to the bank? How much of that character does he own, or did they just say thanks to the character and move along with their day?
Oh, I'm sure he got squat.
I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. Yeah.
Well, either way, I don't care. The character still sucks.
Yeah.
And on a side note,
people have gotten wealthy on stupid shit.
And on a side note, but related to kind of what Sarah's talking about with Spider-Punk, I hate multiverses. I am so tired of multiverses. This whole
that's their whole way of being able to keep doing the same thing over
that's
and
merchandising.
over again.
Yeah.
Multiverse exists like that for merchandising.
Without having to commit to the same actor.
Yeah.
Well, that has more to do with the fact that none of the creators want to create anything new for them.
Yeah.
So they have to
Concept adjacent.
Right.
Yeah.
How can we change it?
Different. Yeah.
Well, right.
The only one I'll back is Spider-Ham. Anything else? No. Spider-Ham.
But the thing is, but also that saves the money from constantly having to renegotiate with Robert Downey Jr. It's like, we could just replace you and just say it's multiverse.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Lego Spider-Man, I would back that one too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. It also talks about it shows you, like we were talking about Superman a couple seconds ago, to where how many Superman movies have there been, and how many times has Lex Luthor been the bad guy? Most of them, right? But Superman has an array of bad guys. I would have loved to see Superman 3, even with the Richard Pryor stuff. Why didn't they just bring in Brainiac? I don't understand why they're making these new things, these new characters that are just like Lex Luthor ripoffs, and not bringing in some of the other things that Superman has to offer, like Brainiac. There's the other Parasite. Pick. Just randomly throw them in a hat and pick one.
That
You
would
know?
require a creativity that they're not willing to invest in.
It's super frustrating because the people like us who are old enough to remember all these characters, and make the list of what we want to see in live action. That would bring me. I mean, I would love to see those characters in live action, it done well in live action, and not 1,000 characters thrown into one movie. Will make sense.
Did they have Brainiac in one of the TV shows?
They had him in Smallville, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But it wasn't. It was like Brainiac 5, wasn't it? Where he was like an alien, but not the Super Friends Brainiac, the robot Brainiac.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of that's just budget. We can't do that, guys. Our budget's not there. But when you're talking about a big budget movie, you should be able to do anything. And I'll tell you this: if that's what you want, James Gunn is the guy that's going to do that. If anyone's going to do it, he's the one that's going to go. Let's do Mr. Mixelplick.
Yeah.
And figure out a way to do this.
And he's just got enough of a quirky style to where he can make that work and make it make sense. We hope.
All right. So, for my answers is I think the Joker's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I would buy the comic where they just put a bullet in his head. I mean, just be done with him.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Captain
but now
Marvel,
there's like 3 of them. So
bullets.
you need
and all
3
that.
bullets.
3 bullets. There you go. The current iteration of Captain Marvel. Just like, who cares?
Shazam or Captain Marvel? Which one are we talking about?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Shazam is
The Marvel version. Got it.
Yeah, the Marvel version.
Yeah.
And then as far as underrated characters, I think over Marvel, I think Daredevil.
Okay.
Is, because the thing is, all right, I'm a huge Frank Miller Daredevil fan. Like, that was my run. But when you go back and you read, like Ed Brubaker did a run on Daredevil, which everyone said was good. I read it. It was okay. And then then there was like current iterations of Daredevil where everybody said those runs are good. But here's the thing, though. It's always the same thing. There's Elektra, Bullseye, Kingpin. And I'm just like, what the F? Like, let Frank Miller rest. You guys have been feeding off his plate forever. You understand? They should just have a moratorium on ninjas, Bullseye, Kingpin, in Daredevil. Just a moratorium. So you cannot use these concepts and these ideas in this book. Come up with something new. Whatever it is. Fuck it. Have him fight a space cowboy. I don't care. Whatever it has to be, it has to be. But not that. Yes, I think him. And the other characters I think they're really underrated. These are far more obscure. One of them is The Hammer by Kelly Jones, who I think I would love to see a comeback by that character by Kelly, and Dynamo Joe, which I'd love to see another comeback from that.
So why don't you go get the Dynamo Joe license?
Nah, man.
Well, you just answered your question. I mean,
Look, we can't do everything ourselves. We
Exactly.
cannot do everything.
Right.
make a phone call, JD. Make a phone call.
Actually, you literally can. But
Right.
no, we cannot, because look, I want to not put together more books, Tom.
Right. And the thing is, if I could get Dynamo Joe, then I'm gonna sit back and say, can I get Captain Paragon? Can I get Captain Paragon?
You don't want to go get a giant robot license that's probably cost you nothing?
Well, I mean,
They'll be like, how do you know what this is?
no, I'm one of 10 people.
Yeah, I'm one of the other ones.
Right. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I gotta finish
Nothing's
everything
gonna
else first. I gotta finish stuff. That's the important thing. I gotta finish stuff.
Really rein in that ADHD. Really rein it in. Really
Exactly.
stay on task.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, we made it to hour 2. So thank you so much. Great job. And let's start with David. Where can they find you and your work, sir?
On all socials, if you look up Correct Handed, you'll see that blue hand pop up. Give me like, follow, comment, shares. And you can find links to everything I've ever created on correcthandedcomics.com. Don't get left out.
All right, cool. Ben, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Fusebox7. You can find me on Facebook under my real name, Benjamin Fuselier. And you can find me here on YouTube under Fusebox. And yeah, just make sure find all my links because yeah, we're going for the trifecta. We're doing all 3 platforms at once, unless somebody kicks me off, which I'm sure will probably happen. But I'm prepared.
All right, cool. Tom, where can they find you and your work, sir?
BigDogInc.com. Go get your books. If you don't know what we do, we got trade paperbacks for everything. We can get you caught up in a hurry, or you can do it on Kickstarters. If you're a Kickstarter backer, every time we do our campaigns, we've got catch-ups and trade paperbacks and all that stuff available too.
All right. Daphne, where can they find you and your work?
You can find me at my portfolio website at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS. You can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites, but I mostly post to Facebook. If you want to see all my latest updates and work in progress and all that fun stuff. You can also catch me on YouTube as well. I host a show with Nita Lanning on every Mondays and Fridays, although our schedule is a little bit wonky now. But if you go head on over to my website, you'll find everything there. So it's egoworks.com.
All right, cool. And I am JD Calderon, your host. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, all those different places under my name, theoswaldchronicles.com, and very soon, once again, back on Kickstarter, promoting books. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. And just remember, please check the show notes. All the links to all these creators, their works are in the show notes. So please click those links. Buy those books because all of these creators are working hard and they're making great books. So please go check them out. Go pick up some books. And just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, folks. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.